Hey folks, I wanted to give you some information so you can make a good selection on your small folding saw for Rangers Ridge courses or for your own time in the field. Um, what we want to do with these small folding saws is we're looking for a lightweight, compact, and easy to use saw, okay? Um, for easy to use, we're talking about you're going to pull it out, get the project done, and put it right back, okay? We don't want to spend a lot of time um, configuring the saw, using it, and then spend a whole lot of time packing it back up and putting it back in the pack, okay? So they have to be easy to use and quick. These all fit that bill. Um, let's look at length of the blade. The blade length is determined by the material that you expect that you're going to need to cut when you go out in the field, okay? We're not trying to cut down a huge tree with these, all right? Generally speaking, you want the blade to be about one third, the material that you're cutting, you want to be about one third to about one half the size of the blade to keep the blade efficient, okay? Can I cut something bigger than that with this blade? Yeah, obviously we can. But when you move away from that efficiency, the efficiency, what it does is it extends the time that you can use this blade and not be fatigued. So you can get more work done if you stay in that efficiency range, okay? It also keeps you from damaging your blade because your blade isn't too short for the material that you're dealing with. Generally speaking, we like to look at about 3.5 to 4 inch diameter material. Takes care of pretty much all your basic needs, okay? It makes good sustainable fires, and it will actually give you structural material if you need to bushcraft to build a shelter, anything along those lines for those projects, okay? So 3.5 to 4 inches is the material we're looking for. Let's take a look at these real quick. This is a Silky Pocket Boy 130. All right. Now, these this blade is 5 inches. So if we look at about half of it, that's only about 2.5 inch material that makes for this saw to stay efficient. Okay. Not quite big enough for what we're looking for a folding saw to take care of the majority of those basic needs, but this works. I love this little saw. This works really good in my haversack or my small pack when I'm going out and just going on a quick little hike, or I'm going to gather materials. This saw is awesome because it's even smaller, and it's just easy to carry and throw in there, and you still have a tool to be able to get those things either processed or collected. Here we have a Primos folding saw. The Primos is a 5.5 inch blade. So here we're still looking at only about 2 3/4 inch material to keep this blade efficient. So this one's still on the short side for what we're looking for the same exact reasons. Okay. Primo's putting this out specifically for hunters. They're probably clearing area for their blind, all that sort of thing. Hunter Specialties puts one out as well, probably with the same purpose. The Hunter Specialties one is 6.5 inches, so we're getting closer. This one efficiently cuts 3 1/4 inch material efficiently. But you could do just like a little better, okay? A little bit longer is what we're looking for. So here we got the Baco Laplander. Now the Baco Laplander is known in the bushcraft community for a long time as the folding saw to get, okay? A lot of things have, a lot of companies have come out since then and been doing pretty good with it. The Baco Laplander just has a tradition of being the one that a lot of people like. This one has a what is it, 7 inch? Yeah, I believe it's a 7 inch blade. So you're at that 3.5 inch efficiency, okay, right here. So that's really good for this one, okay. The Silky Gomboy 240. Now they have a 210 as well, which is slightly smaller. But the 240 is 9 inches long. So you're looking at 4.5-inch material efficiently cut with this one. Okay. Now the 210 is slightly smaller and is still within that range. Okay. So either one would be a good choice as far as the blade length. Okay. We're specifically talking blade length right now. All right. So the next thing we want to look at is the thickness of the blade. Now the thickness of all these blades is more than efficient, more than adequate to get the job done. What you'll find is that the blades on these folding saws will be thicker than what you'll see on, say, like a buck saw. Okay, and the reason for that is overall thinner blades cut faster. Okay, but if we went with a thinner blade on these, you have no support on the end here. You're pushing, you have the support here and all the pressure is coming from this side, but there's no support here. So as you push this thing, you know, if you're not careful, there's no support here to keep it straight. A thin blade snaps easier. All right, so these are a little bit thicker. That's what makes these buck saws more efficient, is that you can have a very thin blade, but it's structurally supported on both ends. That's why you can have such a thin blade, and it makes it efficient because thinner blades cut faster. Okay? So when you pick up one of these and the blade looks thick compared to, say, your buck saw blades, that's the reason. Okay? Now, be careful you don't go too thick, because you're getting less efficient the thicker it goes too. You know, we're going to go with that same idea of, is it adequate enough, strong enough to do the job where I can still keep it a thinness that actually works and gives me some of that speed still. Okay. So let's talk about cutting direction, because that's very important. Some of these are push and pull stroke cuts, so it'll cut on both. The Baco Laplander is one of those. Okay, so it'll cut on the forward stroke and the reverse. Okay, or push and pull stroke. Okay. The Silkies, on the other hand, are only pull stroke. Okay, so there is a learning curve involved in that. Okay, so if you're used to a push and pull at the same time, when you go to use something that is just a pull stroke, you got to be very careful when you're pushing, because you got to kind of let up on that direction and then pull down to bite in on the backstroke. Okay, it sounds simple, but when you go out there and start doing it, swapping those habits, just be careful and start out slow until you get used to it. Okay. I think most of these, this is the Baco is a push-pull. The two Silkies are pull cuts. The Primos looks like a push-pull by the saw blade. And the Hunter Specialties actually looks like it's a pull cut. Okay. So just be aware, the tooth design and everything, you will see the teeth on it actually angle backwards on the pull cuts. Okay, so that's one of the ways you might be able to tell just by looking at the blade. Say you're in Walmart and they got some folding saws there, you can actually look at the blade and look at the way the teeth are oriented. If they're oriented back towards the handle, it's most likely a pull cut, because when you go forward, those teeth aren't really going to do anything because they're pointing back towards your hand. Okay. Just something to look for. A little tidbit for you. Let's talk about the blade shape. Now, there's generally two types of blade shapes. There's, all these are straight blades, so you can see that's just straight. Okay. And then there's other ones which you'll see are curved. Okay. And the curved blades, they do have a benefit. Curved blades are used by arborists, and they're for when you're reaching above yourself to cut a branch. Because if you cut a branch with a straight blade over your head, you're cutting on the side of the branch. So when the branch starts falling, it will pinch your blade because your blade's in the bottom part of the cut, okay? With a curved blade, it will go over the branch somewhat and cut more on the top of the branch. As you're reaching, it'll cut more on the top of the branch and allow the branch to fall. That works really well if you're reaching for material that's above you. So those curved blades do have a really good benefit if that's what you're looking to do a lot of times. If you have a lot of materials that's up off the ground, you're clearing the branches on the bottom of a lot of trees, which is what arborists do, right, when they're trimming their trees. Those curved blades might be a benefit to you. And a lot of these will come, the Silkies will come with optional curved blades too. Okay, those are other ones that you can buy for them. These other ones are just have straight blades on them. The straight blades work great for anything that when you're down on the ground and you can be above and you can keep the cut on the above. Say this is the material you're cutting. If you can keep the cut on top, then you don't have to worry about your blade pinching. Okay, so that works just as well. All right, so just knowing the difference of what the benefit of it is, of what the curved blade benefit is, when you go to pick something, you'd be like, oh yeah, that I might be doing a lot of that, okay? And the curved blades work fine down when you're cutting down here as well, you know? And sometimes they bite in even better because as you pull back, it's like eating into that side without much effort, okay? I know the Silkies have Silky Outback versions where they have their blades a little bit more curved, okay? And a lot of people rave about them and think they're great. So, something to think about with the blade shape. Handle grips. The only real thing with the handle grips I want to say is that make sure they're kind of rubberized or something, because if you're working and it's wet out and stuff, you don't want your hand to slip on these. Especially when you're going back and forth. It's not like a knife. These you're going back and forth. So if you're going forward and that gets stuck in there, if you don't have a good grip on this, you're going to slide right up. Okay? And a saw cut is a pretty significant nasty cut. Okay? So let's just not do that. Extra features. Things that are just kind of nice to have, not requirement at all for your small folding saw, but some of the things that I found that I wanted to mention. 90-degree spine on these. Every single one of these, except for maybe the Baco, because the Baco has a coating on it as well, so it kind of keeps it from having a really good 90-degree spine. The 90-degree spines on these work awesome, just like your belt knife for processing material. Using this on your ferro rod, this works great as a ferro rod scraper. Any one of these with a good 90-degree spine. The other thing is that some of these, like the Silkies, this material, even though it looks like stainless, the way they develop this material, this will still do a cold spark, like flint and steel method, okay? So that's something to think about. That's another source for that cold spark for you, for the Silkies. The other thing with the Silkies is I've seen a lot of people not understand this feature. So there's multiple places where this locks. There's the regular, and then there's this other one where the handle is up like this. And I've seen people review the Silky saws and say, oh, I don't know what that's for. What it's for is, is when you're going to cut something, and say you're down low in the ground, or you're cutting a Y branch and you're trying to cut one and you just can't get in there, okay? If you do this, it moves your hand out of the way from hitting the whatever obstacles are in the way here. So now you can saw that. Now you can saw down lower to the ground without sticking your blade into the ground, because you would have to. If my handle is down here, my hand's going to hit the ground. I'm not going to be able to get through that material. So what I would have to do would be angle like this, and now I'm sticking my end of my blade into the ground. They were smart enough to design a feature where you could just cut all the way down through. Okay, so that's what that's for. So you just got smarter than most of the reviewers of the Silkies on the YouTube. One of the, generally speaking, what I want to say is I don't want to push any one type of blade. I really want you to learn the features, because it makes you smarter in making your choices, okay? If you just go out and pick a blade based on me telling you to get something, then you didn't really learn anything. And go down the line, you'll just go with the next person that tells you to go do something. I want you to think for yourself. I want you to learn what makes things work, and then go out there and find your own, okay? Go out and find the one that you like. Like the belt knife video, I will put my recommendations in the description for you. But, you know, and just prepare yourself to come to a course, okay? Or get yourself out into the field and start using these things. That's the best way to do it.